Your fourth solo album. This is a huge deal, Niall. Do you
Yeah.
still get nervous, despite all the success, ahead of any new release about how it's going to be received?
Yeah, I think I've had a nice natural progression in my solo career, from album to album and like growth, sales wise and tickets wise and being able to play arenas and stuff like that, which has been great, obviously. I think would love to keep it at that level. That'd be great. So I think this time I'm excited because I love the album. But you're always like tentative to be overexcited because of you don't know what people are going to think. Like you sit with these songs, you write these songs, you spend so much time working on them, and then it's up to the fans to grab a hold of them and make it their own, and you just hope that they like the music and feel the need to come and watch you in concert, or put their hand in their pocket to come and watch you. So it's fingers crossed type stuff.
I've listened to it twice. It's brilliant. I don't think you're going to have to worry. I think they're going to love it. I think it's
Thank
a
you.
really special album. And the title of it, Dinner Party, kind of suggests you're in a more mature stage of life in your at the grand old age of 32.
Yeah, I'd say the last it's mad the changes between 26 7 to 30, then from 30 to 33, just like you kind of you're just always growing, I suppose, and kind of it's more subconsciously, and then you look back at it and you're like, Jesus, I was a different fella
Mm.
then, or I was a different fella then. Um, but yeah, I'm at the dinner party place in my life at the moment.
Despite all the tickets sales, like over 1 million with the last tour and everything, it's all
Hmm.
about the home crowd for you still.
Oh yeah, I mean, like because the crowds are notoriously amazing. Like worldwide, you just there's an extra pressure being Irish and
Mm.
playing in Dublin. Obviously, you want to impress. And I just found like I needed to move move the Dublin shows down a little bit, so I'm settled into the show and I can enjoy
Hmm.
it for what it is. Um, so I'm very excited. I'm playing 4 nights at the Tree Arena, playing a couple of
Brilliant.
nights in Belfast, and it's just going to be, yeah, it's going to be amazing. It's a good time of year to be in Dublin as well, apart from the cold. Oh
And I
wow.
saw you mention on Tommy Tiernan, which was an amazing interview, by the way. You never
Mhm.
sat your Leaving Cert. So
No.
I'd love to hear what advice or what you'd say to those students who are currently sweating it out in libraries around the country about their Leaving Cert.
I don't think I could give too much advice in sitting exams. To be honest with you, I don't know. Like, th I think there is a thing where we stress out over these kinds of things, don't we? And anything big in your life, you stress over it because it feels important to you. And like, in fairness, we go to school from 4 or 5 years of age to leaving cert age to get to the leaving cert, you know. So obviously, it feels like a big deal to young people all over the country. I happened to leave the year before, fifth year. I left in fifth year and didn't do my leaving, but was already stressed about it even in fifth year. Yeah, I think like everything feels stressful if it's important to you, but like it's not the be all and end all. There's a big world out there that if you've got drive and determination, that you can make something out of it, even if um, you don't get 600 points in your leaving. But it's an important time for people in their lives because obviously the build up to it over the last
Mm.
15 years of your life is quite substantial. So I can understand why people will be stressed because if you're stressed because it's important, but get your heads down, work hard, and what will be will be.
And do you have any idea what you would be if you weren't a musician?
Yeah, I have no idea what I would have done. I was so young. All I wanted to do was music. I didn't really have any idea. Like as I was as I was saying to Tommy, I don't like I'm
Mm.
never going to be like some sort of academic genius and uh,
Yeah,
take over the world with that. But yeah, I was just plodding along there in Mullingar and didn't really know
yeah.
what I was going to do. And I mean, we all want to be footballers, we all want to be golfers, we all like all that stuff, but they were probably very far down the line for me of things I could achieve. The older I've gotten, the more that's meant to me, I think. You can't, like, there's gaps. Someone was saying to me in an interview earlier today that I release an album every 3 years, and there's a bit of science behind that subconsciously. I didn't realize that, but it makes sense because you do have to take, after a big tour of 10 months or whatever it is,
Mm.
you do need to start living your life for something
Yeah.
to write about. Like you can't just be writing the same songs forever. Like you have to live your life, and you see it there with like say like Dermot Kennedy or
Uh-huh.
Noah Khan or any of those artists like or Hosier or whatever. Like I know for
Mm.
the fact that Andrew locks himself away there in Wicklow and spends time living his life before he can put pen to paper and write those poetic lyrics that he's got. If you're on the move and you're working all the time, you don't have
Yeah.
the creative juices don't flow. So you do need to get back from work and you know have a think and live your life a bit before you start again.
Mm. One of the tracks on your album, the last one, I mean, I nearly started crying when I heard it. And like, and I'm in a newsroom. It's not an ideal place to be nearly crying. But you told Rolling Stones that this was your tribute to Liam, and I think it's so beautiful. Like genuinely, it's an amazing song. You must be very proud of that.
Yeah, yeah. I feel like yeah, it was obviously a tough thing to have to write about. But I did feel like I needed to write about it.
Mm.
It's part of what we were just talking about. That
Yeah.
happened. I got back from, as I was telling Tommy as well, I got back from that tour and um was planning to go back into the studio pretty much straight away, and then that happened, and it took me a bit of time to want to go back in. But I was living as much as I was living through the other songs and what I was writing about. I was also living through that, so it felt like a good way to get stuff off my chest and things like that. It's one of those things that you never will never get to the bottom of, like the grief
Mm.
process.
Did you find it healing in a way?
Yeah, yeah, I think so. Like
Mm.
it's nice to be able to have that vehicle to get your emotions out and write it down. It was sad, obviously,
Mm.
but as I was saying, like there's a lot of fun memories too. So in the lyric, there's a bit of both in there because I have both of those emotions going on in my head at the same time. So
Mm.
um, yeah, it did feel cathartic and felt something like I had to do to help myself. And I also think it's going to be great for the fans.
I think you said there was only 2 weeks between you on
Yeah,
Tommy's show. And it is such a sad thing, but I think they're gonna absolutely love the last track in particular.
yeah.
I think it's
Yeah, yeah,
beautiful.
I think so. They lost as well. They had a loss as
Mm.
well. So I think it's great for them and anyone that's lost anyone. I think is
Yeah.
it's a good reflection song, something to help you in a time where you might be thinking about it
Yeah.
or whatever. So I think there's hopefully it can help a few people because it definitely helped me writing it.
That's brilliant and well done for doing that. So what can fans expect now from the shows? You're saying like you plan them like months out. Like you love this, don't you? Like the
Oh
creative
yeah,
idea and the set lists and everything else.
yeah. I'm already miles ahead of myself. I like had the stage design and what it's going to look like. I knew what that was going to look like a long time ago. I've been thinking about this for months, making Pinterest boards and making terrible drawings and yeah, getting my girlfriend to she's a good drawer, so getting her making things out of paper and cardboard and trying to get her to draw it for me. Yeah, I love this stuff because it's the stuff that like why he got into music. Like
Mm.
I remember being at the RDS as a child watching the Eagles and just being like, that's what I want to do. But I remember looking up there and going like, that's exactly what I want to do. And the touring side of things is, as I said, it's exactly what I thought it would look like. Um, and I just get really excited about trying to make a bigger, better show and
Mm.
learning more about the production side of things and all that kind of stuff. It just makes me really excited. And then just having a massive band playing the tunes and yeah, it's so cool.
And is there anything you do before you go on that stage to kind of pump you up? Do you have a little Mars bar or an energy drink or I don't know? What do you do? What do artists do before they play to like
Yeah,
60,000 fans?
I often think to myself when I'm having my dinner and putting on my gear and having a shower, like I often think I used to sit out there at like concerts and go, I wonder what the artist is doing right now. I suppose it's artist dependent, but I'd be doing nothing. I'd be in there. I have my dinner I do sound check and I chill for a bit, and then I'll have my dinner at 6 o'clock. and I'll start slowly getting ready, putting on a few tunes in the dressing room, um, literally having a shower, treating it like I was going on a night out. Slowly get ready, listen to music, warm up my voice. Um, I think like back in the day, like doing show after show after show was
Mm.
funny. Like when you're the whole turning 30 thing is a real thing.
What's your guilty pleasure from home? Do you like fish and chips, or what's your mom's go-to dinner when you're home? Like, does she do a nice roast? You have
My
to say,
mother said,
yeah, she'd kill you.
yeah. No, it's always the simple. Like I don't think we realize how good our crisps are.
Oh, the crisps are amazing.
Like you go around the world, you see some of the crap that's been eaten. So Irish crisps are always a big thing. Like I'd be getting like Amazon orders of things you can't get. Like I'd be getting Barry's tea bags, and even in rehearsal last week, the production manager bought me Barry's tea bags, and it was the best thing of all time. We were like, still get a buzz off it. Played around the golf in around the Masters there a few weeks ago in Georgia, and the guy running the golf club was from Dublin. And in the golf cart, he knew I was coming. And in the golf cart, he put two cans of Club Rock Shandy. I nearly kissed his feet. Um, it's the simple little things. Rock Shandy, crisps, and good Guinness. Like we have
Yeah,
in London
yeah.
here, there's a couple of places that do decent stuff, but there's nothing, there's nothing like it. It sounds like a myth, whatever, but it's very true.
It's not. I've got many pints of bubbly Guinness
Yeah.
abroad,
Yeah.
and it just makes you never want to drink again.
I've stopped drinking it outside of London, to be honest. I don't drink it in America, not a chance. There's one place in Australia that I drink it, but apart from that, no, I wouldn't be jumping to to get a pint.
And Niall, you must just pinch yourself finally, like, thinking back to that kid who was standing outside Crow Park,
Mm.
with your guitar. Like, it just feels like completely surreal to me, and I'm
Yeah,
not even you. So you must
yeah.
just pinch yourself.
Oh, all the time. Like most days. Like it's mad. It's how yeah, just living a very normal life back at home and um in just a small Irish town, and then all of a sudden you're just everywhere, and it's just it is mad how something can change overnight. It was in the right place at the right time, um, with a little bit of talent, and thank God for that. It's mad, yeah. Been able to live a crazy life so far, but a very enjoyable one, and yeah, still living the dream, thankfully.